What's good with the YouTube or convict's perspective? As always, it's your homeboy, Big Flacco, sliding through, smashing and dashing with my co-host, Big Senor Rojo. Little bit of energy, man. Let's get this cracking. I hope everyone's blessed today and having a positive day. But what we're going to do today is have a big discussion about what's been going on in the California Department of Corrections the last few years, man. A wave of violence, a lot of murders, a lot of killings. And we're going to particularly talk about where there was how many murders in how many days, Rojo?
4 inmates, three different prisons in 21 hours.
In 21 hours, man. So we got an article. We're going to discuss it. Then we're going to break it down with a convict's perspective, as always, man.
Hey, real quick, too, man, for those of you guys who might have missed it, there was an incident at Lancaster. It is confirmed. 7 gentlemen from down south rushed 2 from up north. One of them was hit multiple times with weapons and was life flighted out. Now, this does not mean that there's any end of hostilities or nothing at this point whatsoever. Only time will tell with that, but the indications are that it has nothing to do with any kind of end of hostilities. So draw your own conclusions, and when we find out, we'll give it to you the real, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, we'll get back to this. That was just for any of y'all that missed it. The title of this article is 4 inmates at 3 California prisons killed in 21 hours, 8 facing charges. This is from May of last year. Delano, California. 4 inmates were killed at 3 state prisons within a 21-hour span, according to officials with the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. All 4 were serving life sentences for murder. 2 of the attacks happened at the same facility. Below is a brief breakdown of the incidents in the order in which, they occurred. Thursday, April 30th, 1:30 p.m. Kern Valley State Prison. Victim, Robert Hargrave. Suspects, Matthew Thornton, Michael Arzaga. Thursday, April 30th, 4:30 p.m. California Medical Facility. Victim, Tuck Tran. Suspect, James Norton. Friday, May 1st, 7:48 a.m. Kern Valley State Prison again. Victim, Robert Beltran. Suspects, Charles Garibay, Rafael Navarro, and Guillermo Navarro. Friday, May 1st, 10:45 a.m. High Desert State Prison. Victim, 65-year-old Michael Ramadanovich. I think I said that right. I was close. Suspects, Rodney Rice and Robert Smith. Robert Hargrave, stabbed with inmate manufactured weapon. Correction officials say Robert Hargrave, 48, was attacked in the rec yard at Kern Valley State Prison on the afternoon of April 30th. According to officials, the suspects, Michael Thornton, 38, and Michael Arzaga, 47, used an inmate manufactured weapon. And when officers ordered them to stop and they did not comply, chemical agents had to be used. Hargrave suffered multiple stab wounds to his back, chest, and abdomen. He died at the hospital. He had been in prison since May of 1994, serving life without the possibility of parole for first-degree murder. Thornton, in May of 2009, began serving a 14-year sentence for attempted second-degree murder and a 5-year enhancement for prior felony convictions of a serious offense. Arzaga, in March of 1998, began serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole for second-degree murder. Truck Tran, found unresponsive in cell. Truck Tran, age 75, was found unresponsive in his cell with multiple head and face injuries on the afternoon of April 30th at the Correctional Medical Facility prison in Vacaville. His cellmate, James Thornton, 39 years old, was restrained and removed from the cell as staff attempted life-saving measures on Tran. He was pronounced dead about 20 minutes after officials found him unresponsive. Correction officials noted Norton was rehoused in administrative segregation following this incident. Tran, in 2015, began serving a life sentence with the possibility of parole for second-degree murder. Norton, in 2019, began serving 2 years for cause of fire on forest land.
Wow. He turned that 2-year sentence into a stretch, huh?
Good Lord. He wasn't playing for some reason. But I mean, that's in a PC facility too. Robert Beltran attacked 3 inmates with inmate manufactured weapons. Robert Beltran, attacked by 3 inmates, Robert Beltran, 50 years old, suffered multiple stab wounds to his head, back, chest, neck, abdomen. after correction officers say 3 inmates began attacking him with inmate manufactured weapons as he exited his cell on Friday morning, May 1st. Officials said chemical agents had to be used on inmates Charles Garibay, Rafael Navarro, and Guillermo Navarro after they failed to comply with orders to stop attacking Beltran. Beltran died at the hospital about 2 hours after the attack. Investigators recovered 4 inmate manufactured weapons at the crime scene. Correction officials said he had been in prison since 1989, serving life with the possibility of parole for attempted second-degree murder and kidnapping. Garibay, 34, in 2007, began serving a 46-year sentence for assault with a semi-automatic firearm on a peace officer, attempted carjacking, and attempted second-degree murder. In 2017, he received a 4-year in-prison felony conviction for possession and/or manufacture of a deadly weapon by a prisoner. Rafael Navarro, age 32, in 2008, began serving a 25-year sentence for second-degree armed robbery with gang enhancements. He also received 2 in-prison felony convictions, one 2-year sentence from Kern County in 2013 for possession of a controlled substance in jail and/or prison, and a 4-year sentence from Kern County in 2019 for assault by a prisoner with a deadly weapon or force likely to produce great bodily injury. Guillermo Navarro, 38, in 2007, began serving life with parole for first-degree murder. Michael Ramadanovich, stabbed in rec yard with inmate manufactured weapons. Ramadanovich, 65, was attacked in the rec yard at High Desert State Prison on the morning of May 1st. Correction officials said chemical agents and a warning shot from a Mini 14 rifle had to be used to quell the attack by Rodney Rice and Robert Smith, who used inmate manufactured weapons. Ramadanovich suffered multiple puncture wounds to his chest, back, head, and neck. He was pronounced dead about a half hour after the attack. Officers recovered 2 metal inmate manufactured weapons. Ramadanovich, in 1988, began serving life without parole for first-degree murder. He also received a 6-year sentence in October of 2019 for assault with a deadly weapon, an in-prison offense. Rice, age 28, in 2016, began serving 3 years for evading or attempting to evade a peace officer while driving recklessly, and was serving a 2019 sentence for corporal injury on a victim with 7 years of a previous specific conviction on his second strike. Officials noted since 2014, Rice has served time for vehicle theft, possession of a controlled substance for sale, possession of ammunition by a prohibited person, battery, and assault with a deadly weapon. Smith, 28, in 2018, began serving 2 years, 8 months for attempting to evade a peace officer while driving recklessly, his second strike. He was also sentenced to serve 2 years for assault likely to produce great bodily injury. And oh man, they've just doubled, excuse me guys, they doubled that last paragraph up, but that's that.
So 3 of those hits seem to be political within their own group. Anytime you have multiple people usually doing a hit, usually that's somehow tied to some type of politics. You know what I mean? The one in Vacaville, old man Tran, that's a strange one. 75 years old. You know, he's doing time for. You know what? It depends on what type of case he has. He's in there on a murder case. I think it was from 2016. I think if maybe you can clarify that.
Yeah, it was from a murder case. He had life, all that stuff, but it didn't break down too much of the specifics of his case.
Yeah, but that could be a funny style case too, funny style charge that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to put 2 and 2 together. Why someone that would have 2 years for you know, an arson charge, man, why would they jeopardize their freedom by taking this dude out unless there was some type of funny style charge? I don't care. Me personally, brother, if I'm in a cell and I know that you've done something that's heinous crimes, we know what those heinous crimes are, you're getting the business, bro, period. I still, to this day, I mean, will stand by those convictions. There's no way in hell you're going to be leaving that cell, man. Your hand's going to touch every corner, everything, man. And I'm going to do everything I can to you if you have one of those heinous crimes. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I could think of, unless the dude that was already in there, you know, a little wacko for doing arsons. Maybe he had some
That's
issues.
what I was going to say, man. Arson a lot of times is either a mistake or the person's weird.
Yeah.
You know, they relate arson toward crimes of a more deviant nature. And there's some psychological reason that they do that. And, you know, it is kind of weird. We got to remember this was in an S&Y prison. So there's no telling what the motivation was. But, man, you got a 75-year-old person in there for murder and somebody else takes him out that's only got 2 years. There's either some mental health issues going on or the dude had weird charges.
Yeah, or both.
Or both. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then the other cases too, which kind of stand out to me. Okay, look.
I think I would just slap the shit out of that old man personally. I'd just slap fire from him and throw him out the door. I just can't earn no points killing him, you know? I mean, it depends on the crime, but I could see myself just reaching all the way back and just making it sound like an M80 went off, smacking.
That's probably all it took. If they're 75 though too, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but back to the
75-year-old that's been working out to go deal with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but look at that one dude that was 65 that they hit, Ramadanovich. I mean, he was 65 years old. 2 years ago, he had like an assault with a deadly weapon or something like that, or assault and battery on someone, man. So he was still about that.
Yeah.
He was still about that action. But see, all those other hits, man, like, okay, look, you know, as far as prison removals, okay, whether you have a hit squad, you have a SKP team, whatever it may be, I think each group kind of operates kind of similar. When they go to do a hit and the whole objective is to take a life, they're going to send at least 2 people on that person. So all those other hits, there was at least 2 or 3 people involved in those hits. So you can already tell the whole agenda was to take those people out. Now, what stood out to me was some of these people that got hit had been in the system since 1988, doing life sentences. They've been around for years. So I'm just wondering what these hits maybe have been based about. You know what I mean? As we know, ever since the end to all hostilities, right? And everybody's been released out, there's been a lot less group faction riots, you know, group issue problems, removals like that. I mean, we've been abreast and we know that there's been issues between the African Americans and the Southsiders on a lot of yards. That's been concurred by a lot of individuals. But overall, the traditional issues.
Folsom's locked down right now because of black on Sereno on black.
Yeah, I think on C Yard, I think Building 5, some issues happen over there or something like that. But you know, back to what I'm saying though is, you don't have the North and South getting off. You don't have the North and Whites getting off. You don't have the South and Whites getting off. You don't have all these little, you know, melees and riots and stuff, and where prisons have to get shut down and locked down. But what you are experiencing is a lot more in-house cleanings. I mean, a lot more severe consequences. Yes, the prisons may be a lot less violent. They're able to, everybody wants to go out there. They all want to make money. They all want to have their privileges and incentives. They want to make their phone calls. They want to go out to yard. They want to do all those things. You know, I get it. We were in the SHU for years. I get it. But when there is acts of violence, it's been some treacherous situations, bro. You know what I mean? There's been a lot more prison killings in the last, I say, 5 years than all throughout the 90s and 2000s when I was doing time. There's been a lot lately.
Yeah, back when I was there, man, it was almost all razor action. It was almost all shaving somebody. You know what I mean? Giving them a shave. You know, it was rare to see somebody go all the way. Right after that, they started really, you know, trying to go all the way in high desert. You know what I mean? And you know, a couple other level 4 yards, but you know, predominantly in my time, it was all razor action. You know.
And see if you really think about it, bro, let's just keep it 100. I'm gonna say something that nobody really is touching base upon these issues. When these groups were all at war with each other, Norteños and Sureños, whites and Norteños, blacks and whites, Sureños and whites. When everybody was at war, seriously politicking on the yards, securing themselves, there was a lot less in-house removals occurring, because everybody's main focus on the yard was the opposition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So therefore, you're not stressing off what's going on within your own manpower, because there's enough of a threat of everybody else out there that the whole purpose for everybody out there is to sit there and have a united front to secure yourself on that yard. Now that you take away the threat, there no longer exists a struggle. There no longer exists a cause. It's the same thing I used to hear from Southsiders, right? You know, when I talked to them in the SHU that had came from prisons down south, to where back then we had not been able to plant our flags in very few prisons down south back in the days. For a minute, there was homeboys that were in Centinela on the level 3 yard, but that didn't last that long. So what would happen, I would hear from these Southsiders, was prisons down south in the 90s where there was no Norteños, there was a lot more politicking amongst each other. A lot more like cars, you know what I mean? LA car, San Diego car, that stuff used to play out in the 90s. It doesn't really play out nowadays, but I'm just speaking from past tense. Now that's the same thing that's occurring with all these other groups now. Now that you take away, you're not worried about the whites, you're not worried about the Sudanos. Yeah, you probably take your head counts, you do what you have to do to secure yourself, but now where are you gonna put all that aggression and time into? It seems like people are not content without having enemies or threats to deal with on a yard. Therefore, threats are created on the yard. And the biggest threat that all these groups have are within their own people.
Hey, you can't deny that at all, man. And you know, over time, you know, numbers start to dwindle, and you start to, you know, as a member, unless you're, you know, one of the policy makers, you start to really be concerned with what's going on amongst your own people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you're trying to maintain a level of, I don't want to call it peace, but a level of, you know, being able to get along with the other groups on the yard. So you're like, oh, hey, how you doing this morning? Going about your business with a smile. Hey, I send mine. Have a good day. You know, that kind of shit you do, you know, just to seem like a good guy. Man, and you know that the only place that current trouble's coming from is from your own family. You know what I'm saying? You start to lose that camaraderie. You know what I mean? That carnalismo.
Exactly.
You know,
what I
because
mean?
you're like, man, I told that dude. So like, say me and you are Sally's, bro. And I tell you something that, man, it could possibly get me in trouble. Maybe I had a red on the street or something, or, you know, man, I got with this hyena and I didn't know she was with this dude, or I did, or whatever. But I'm telling you in confidence, man, you get in a little trouble. Hey, man, well, you know, this isn't nothing, man. That motherfucker Rojo, bro, he shot that dude from fucking, you know, Modesto. You know what I mean? And you start to really be cautious of what you say around people that you're supposed to be like that with, where you're supposed to be able to share and be cool and have that sense of unity. You know what I mean? That goes out the window, man.
Well,
When 2 or 3 people get hit with your own car and you question, like, damn, he got hit for a cell phone that he lost. Fuck, man, that fool lost. He had to flush some wheelers and some drugs. He got hit. Fuck, man, I could get hit for hella shit I did.
Well, you're exactly right. It's like my point though being, Rojo, is this, okay? Say like Corcoran back in the day, Pleasant Valley back in the 90s. You got 25, maybe 50 homeboys, yet you got 200 Sureños and 300 Sureños. Therefore, where's your main attention? There's no time to politic on your own.
You're watching your brother's back.
You're watching your brother's back. So that's what the difference. And I've said this before, right? Every cause, every struggle, every movement that's ever been created has been created off one thing: the oppression or the threat of oppression. Therefore, when you're on a yard and you have all these oppositions, skinheads, Sureños, I'm talking from a Norteño standpoint, skinheads, Nazi lowriders, Sureños, all these different groups, and you're like like maybe 30, 40 heads, there's not enough time in the day to politic amongst each other to look for issues to create, because the struggle is real. Now, when you take out that equation where everybody's out there and they're making money, so the cause of struggle no longer exists that we were taught. That fire to strive for the betterment of the people, to secure everybody, to be ready to take on every opposition, to make those sacrifices. Now it's about who's making this. You know what I mean? What can you do for me today? So that's now the new struggle. That's the new cause. And if you don't, you know what I mean, if you don't align with those beliefs, right, and you become any threat to any superior group within the superior authorities within that group, and you become contrary to what they want you to be doing, you become an opposition. And this is where all the favoritism comes into play, and you know what I mean, the finances, and this is where decisions start to be made. So a lot of it, like I'm looking at some of these dudes that have been removed on that list you read. Some of those guys have been doing time a long time. You know what I mean? 30 plus years. They know how to politic. They know how to survive on the yard. They know how to get busy. And for them to get hit means there's a lot more to this that's going on than meets the eyes.
Hey, that's one of the main lessons here, man. It's like, oh, you know, you see people, you know, who might have laid it down. You know, you see people, you know, not active no more, whatever you call it these days. And you're like, you automatically assume people got funny charges or they told. That's not necessarily the case, man. There's a lot of shit going on, you know, behind the scenes that causes people to say, fuck that. You know, you know in your heart that this dude got hit for no reason and maybe killed, and another one happens 3 months later, you start to have doubts. Even if you ain't done nothing, man, you start to be like, man, is this the life I signed up for? My cellie could take me out. I don't even got to worry about any white boys, no Serenos. I got to worry about my damn cellie, bro. And it plays with your head when you're in there. You're on lockdown for 7 months or something after an incident. Every day you go to sleep, you're like, man,
I'm not gonna get hit.
that drive-by I did in 97 come back to haunt me. You know what I'm saying? It gets rough. So you can't just assume everybody who walks away is just funny, because they're not, bro. The politics are what's funny.
So this is the reality of it, bro. The end to all hostilities, right? We've discussed this many times. You know, it's a good thing, peace and all that amongst groups. But with having that, you take away the threat and opposition that you used to have. Therefore, what ends up happening is you politic within. All issues that are created are within. You know what I'm saying? Whereas before, I've said this over and over again, having those enemies and having those oppositions is what used to unify us on a daily basis to do the things that we did, being outnumbered. Now we don't have that threat no more. We have a working relationship. I mean, there's crazy stuff going on to where they're working with each other and having us deal with our own people and vice versa. I never thought that would have happened. Oh, you want us to deal with our own people? Nah, fuck that. We fucking, let's get this cracking. That's just how it used to be. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I'm all for peace, man. But what I'm trying to get at is everything that's been taught and instilled in a lot of people back in the days, it no longer exists. The cause and struggle is no longer there.
It's changed.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can sit there and say, yeah, we're still fighting for injustice against administration. Well, you got a lot more rights than we did 25 years ago. You guys are making headway there. You know what I'm saying? But now there's more of a power struggle within. The things that kept it, okay, ISIS always tell people this. It's supposed to be a perpetual struggle. A lot of things that we were striving towards and goals, we knew we were never going to be able to achieve them. You know what I'm saying? But they were there for us to keep on propelling forward. You know what I'm saying? And without these threats of oppositions, enemies, and all that on the yard, we couldn't have been able to do the things that we did as a united front, being outnumbered. So everything's changed. You know what I mean? Now, I mean, and like I said, it's not a bad thing in some senses, but it's also been counterproductive within these groups. You know what I'm saying? There's been a lot more people that are dealing with their own politics and dealing with their own issues. And there's a lot of cutthroat backdoor politics going on with these groups and interactions and workings and dealings that we don't know about. And you're on the yard, you're watching it, and you may succumb to be a victim based upon that. You know, it's pretty bad that say some cat from the other group doesn't like you, and to keep the peace, your own people are going to have you whacked. You know, we heard a couple stories about that, man. You know what I mean? But we heard, I mean, what was that?
What just happened recently? I'm not saying it is, but I guarantee you it's an extreme possibility. Hey, these dudes did this, this, and this. Well, hey, to show that we're still working together with all this shit that's going on with state and feds and shit like this, y'all go ahead and deal with it how you see fit. Bro, it's a possibility. Am I saying it happened? Not at all. I wasn't there. But nowadays, the politics have changed so much, and people seem to forget. You know, one of the main things that we were always taught was advancement demands change. Man, they need to make some changes to advance again. Back in the days when you had the threat or interference of the opposition, you had to worry about the South, the whites, the Bulldogs, whatever the case might be at that particular institution. You would lose soldiers through
it would have to be something serious.
Acts of defense. Now you're losing soldiers because of your own hand. And the soldiers are already losing themselves going to the SOI yards. So you're just compounding all these losses, man. And when there's only 20 active dudes on a yard, you wonder, oh, what's up with all these pieces of shit?
No, the first question I see is who's next?
It's not the case.
You know what I mean?
Everything's changed since I'm into hostilities, man. 100%. Like if I showed up, like say I was still active, bro. I showed up to a yard right now, my mouth would drop. I'd have to be like, what the fuck's going on? It would take me a minute to get adjusted. But when back in the days in the 90s, I could whip that bitch into shape in 48 hours. Now I'd be like, what do you do? It's so different.
Yeah, I mean,
no, and that's why a lot of these people from back in the days that you see getting stabbed at 60-something years old, you wonder why. Just like Flacco said, that guy knows how to politic. He knows this, he knows that. politics are different from him. That fool was educated.
Yeah, true,
You know,
true.
I don't know. Times are weird.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to, like I said, I'm all for, like I said, I'm all for the end of hostilities, you know what I mean, the peace on the yards, you know what I mean? It's just I'm all, that life is a past life for me. It just trips me out though, is the politicking and stuff that happens within. You know what I mean? The same things that the same things that we were educated about, that we said that we were against. I'm saying we during our time era, the things that we used to propel and try to push out there and try to instill in others, and say, and the things that we said that we were against aggression and against abuse and against oppressing our own people, man, that's exactly what's been going on. You don't align with my beliefs or my pockets, you're gonna get fucking hit. You know what I'm saying?
Why
You better kick in this. If you don't kick in what we expect, man, you're gonna get hit. You can't push your dope until we push all our dope first. You know what I mean? Oh, by the way, you brought that dope in, you got to get 55%. You know what I mean?
Hey, why do you think there's so many cliches and stuff throughout time about keeping your enemies close and your friends closer, and, you know, watch the person next to you before you watch the person across the street? There's a reason that these cliches are there, because this has happened throughout history. You know what I mean? A lot of these damn little cliches and whatever they call, what are the words that they use? There's a word for it. I'm not thinking of it, but man, they come from other countries and stuff from centuries ago, bro. And that's what happens, man. When there's nobody to war with, you war with yourself.
Yourself, exactly. As soon as
soldiers get restless, soldiers want to battle.
And that's why I used to sit there. You know what I mean? Like you have, you know, this it's a good thing, but like I said, this is the reality of it, man. Without the threat of oppression, they're no longer exist an enemy. They're no longer a struggle. Your struggle may be against administration, but now it seems like everybody's struggle is how much money can I make? You know what I mean? It's a whole different time era. Don't get me wrong. It's good to be out there making money and all that stuff, but you know, the internal politics.
Make money.
No, okay, look,
you know,
if you're in the system, right, and you're seeing all this stuff and you're hearing all this stuff about this person being hit for this and that, as a soldado behind the walls, whatever group you align with, you're going to be walking on eggshells. There's no way around it. You know what I mean? You're going to be watching your back, because it's no longer about doing the right thing. It's about doing what's going to benefit you.
I agree, 100%. Anyway, YouTube, man, that was just a crazy story about life in prison. It don't matter where you're at. You know, a lot of people say stuff about the S&Y yards. You could get killed there. Probably easier than on a GP yard, because there's no politics. It's a wild, wild west. Do what you want. If you don't like somebody, you can run something in them. But in order to avoid all that, today's lesson is get you a job, don't break no laws, and don't participate in criminal activity. It's hard to say, harder to do. I get it. Stay out of there, man, because 65 years old, been politicking for 40 years, you can get whacked. Straight up. The career and that lifestyle is short. I wish we had the numbers to show you from the time every person of any group started until their career was over. You'd be astonished of how short it is.
Yeah.
We'll holler at you guys later. Have a good day, YouTube. Appreciate y'all.